Yes, let's welcome Allie, another women's lacrosse legend here at Stony Brook University. And guys, take over. I mean, this is we had you on. I know about a year ago, and especially during COVID, we were trying to get everybody. But a year has gone by, and we can talk a lot about that. Guys, it's all yours.
Yeah, so Ali, again, thanks a lot for coming on. I think just first things first is, we've had some time to reflect now on that year and just how has that been? How has the past couple of weeks been for you coming off, again, the tail end of your collegiate career and now transitioning to playing professional?
It's actually been kind of like not relaxing in a way because I am sad that my career at Stony Brook is over, but I'm happy to reflect on my season and, be proud of the things that my team has accomplished when I was there and, all the great players that I had the privilege of playing with, since I was a freshman to now my fifth year. And if you told me my freshman year that I was going to have a fifth year at Stony Brook, I'd probably call you crazy. But again, that was the best decision I've ever made, was to go back and finish out that COVID year that the NCAA has given us. But, it was great. And Stony Brook did a great job of making sure that it felt as normal as possible, even though it was under crazy circumstances in the beginning. And I'm just so thankful that I got to, end my career. Although we didn't win a national championship, it was still on a high note. And, ending it on my terms, which is like a big thing that I wanted to do when the season got canceled in 2020. So I'm happy. And now transitioning to pro is still like I'm pinching myself every day because it's a dream that's coming true right before my eyes. So I'm just really happy.
Allie, Zach Wilson here. Thank you for joining once again. To recap this 2021 season, it was a season where your team once again proved that you looked like a team that nearly might have had a chance to go all the way. Your only 3 losses coming against the top teams from the ACC in North Carolina and Syracuse. 2 of those 3 losses you were against North Carolina, both of them also on the road at Dorrance Field. But even so, in those few losses, your team showed that you were able to stay in the game for a while. And that last game of the season against North Carolina, your team put the Tar Heels in an unfamiliar territory where they were trailing late in the game. How proud were you of your team to be able to show how you were able to show the rest of the nation just how much you were able to get that type of pressure to a top tier team like the Tar Heels?
I'm so proud. I was able to watch my teammates day in and day out put in all the work that it takes to be able to do something like that. And I also am so happy that we did have such a great game with them because, I think it proves to the selection committee and the NCAA that the 8th seed was definitely way too low for us and we should have had a higher ranking. But, we did what we could with the cards we were dealt, and it was a really good run and it was a really good game, probably one of the best games throughout the whole tournament. And I'm super, super proud of my teammates and, especially the 5th year girls who came back and put their lives on hold for another year to try to accomplish that dream. And, we got really, really close and we almost took down one of the best teams that I've ever played against. So again, hopefully next year, that game will stay in the selection committee's mind and they'll have us at a higher seed than the 8th seed because, I think we proved it and left it all out on the field.
Absolutely. And again, it was really an incredible postseason run for you in particular. I mean, even going back to the America East tournament, obviously, that game against UMBC in the semifinals, Eagles got off to a slow start. Ultimately, you ended up finishing with 7 goals in that game, 8 points in total in that 25-13 rout over the Retrievers. And that kind of set the tempo for the Seawolves during the remainder of the postseason. So what was it like catching fire at the right time and stepping up as that leading scorer for the team?
I think it's something that I'm going to give credit to my teammates and being able to prepare me for situations like that, and the coaching staff being able to, create the intensity through practice. And I think it showed when we were down almost 5-0 to UMBC, who we were playing. That was our third time playing them. So they had a good scout on us, and we came out, and we were put on our heels. So it's just a tribute to, again, my team, and, getting hot at the right time is a good way to put it. And I think that it wasn't only me who started to get hot at the right time. It was all the seniors and the senior leadership. And everyone started pulling, at that time. And we took off. We captured our 8th America East Championship, which is a really cool brag. And, I wish I could say I did 4 years and had 4 America East Championships, but 4 in 5 years, I guess, or 4.5 will do. But it was definitely an awesome experience. And, I was just trying to do my job in being the leading scorer, but it wasn't always me. Some days it was Taryn, other days it was Kaylee Huff or Siobhan Rafferty. Like, everyone pulled and did their job on different days, and that's what we needed to get as far as we did.
Yeah, and you and Taryn O'Miller were one of the biggest threats to watch when it comes to 2 players playing with each other on the same team in the nation. And just over an hour ago, we found out that towards the end of this season, Taryn O'Miller was playing through with a torn ACL, and she was still able to look very hot during the NCAA tournament. We know that she suffered a torn ACL back in 2018 in the best season ever for Stony Brook, but she's able to finish her career, finish a season this time by going all the way through, and never for 1 second did it look like any injury seemed to be hindering her. How does that tell you about how such an athletic player that Taryn O'Miller has been, as well as you, in your time at Stony Brook?
Taryn's a beast. Like, when I found that out, my jaw hit the floor because, like you said, you could not tell. She was playing like it was her last game every time she stepped on the field, and it very well could have been. But she's strong. I admire her for that. That is just a gritty way to end your season. And honestly, like, it's not a brag right now, but when she has kids one day, she could tell her kids that how much, of a boss that she is, that she was able to do that. And not even for a second, she never complained. It never looked like anything was bothering her or slowed her down, except for an ice pack on her knee at the end of a game. And that was really it. I lived with her. We were in the same house. She never complained about her knee. So it's just amazing to me how strong she is. And the fact that she was able to do that, I give her so much props, because she made it look easy, and that is not easy. It's not at all. That's a season-ending injury, so I'm amazed by her. I even commented on her Instagram picture. I said, "You amaze me," because that is truly an amazing thing that she did.
Absolutely. And I think both Taryn and yourself, inspiration, there's a lot of words come to mind. Inspiration is definitely one of them. Leaders as well. And I think, especially for you two, it goes back to even before the start of the season, back to last March when Sean Helbron announced blanket waivers were going to be allowed. And you were the first player to announce you were going to come back to make your return for another season. And Taryn followed suit. And really, I told Taryn last week as well, that really kickstarted a lot of the seniors, especially those who were on the fence of maybe I don't pause what I got going on and I graduate and get out. So yeah, I'm going to come back for another year. So how proud are you in that sense, where you're both leaders on and off the field?
I mean, it was an easy decision for me. I knew it wasn't going to be an easy decision like that for everyone. And I knew that once someone got the ball rolling, that it would inspire others to do the same, because, it was a weird situation where it's like, well, are you going to go back? And you're like, I don't know. Are you going to go back, kind of thing? So like, once I announced that I was, which was probably the day after our season got canceled, she took a little time, and we talked about it here and there, but I never wanted to put any pressure on her whatsoever. So when she announced that she was coming back, I was so happy. And then I was really pressuring like my closest friend, Sydney Gagnon, to come back. And she tells me to this day, she's like, the only reason I came back was because of you. And, we had a great year, and she ended up having an awesome season, and being able to, go back on the field for one more season with Taryn and Sydney, and then adding Keely Huff, who me and Taryn also played travel lacrosse with growing up. So it was like one big reunion, while also adding in the new freshmen that we would have never had the chance to meet if we did finish out our careers in 2020. So it's like a silver lining kind of thing, and kind of awesome that, I got the chance to finish out my career with two of my closest friends.
Allie, we ran this question past Taryn as well. When you're presented with this choice to come back, you're already planning your future post-graduation, and all of a sudden that changes completely. What do you do? Is it as part of the process? Yeah, I want to play, but what am I going to do academically? What am I going to do professionally? How does that extra year figure in? How does that change your plans? And has that alter your plans now that you're done?
Honestly, the decision was easy for me because I didn't have anything set up for after graduation. Like, I knew I wanted to pursue the lacrosse world, like, side of things. But the thing that really, like, sat with me when even going into my 5th year, it was hard because people were like, well, we might not have a season. Like, would you do a 6th year? And like a 6th year just sounds even worse. But like a thing that was going through my head was, in 10 years or 5 years or whatever it is, when I look back, even when they're playing the season, let's say I decided not to come back and they're playing, like, I think I would regret not using that extra year. Like, every grown adult person that I talked to said I would do anything to have one more year of college, an extra year of college, that I get to not only play the sport I love, but further my academic, success and choosing in what I wanted to do. It was kind of dumbed down to an easy decision of like, I'm going to be working for the rest of my life eventually. Like, I think I could put it off one more year to live out a dream with, 30 something of my best friends.
Do you feel any disappointment that you did come back to win it all? You were out there to win it all, and you fell short. Do you feel any additional regret knowing that you came back just to win it all pretty much, and you weren't able to do that?
No, because that's not what the whole experience is about. Yeah, winning a national championship would be amazing, and it's something that I would have for the rest of my life. But making it to the Elite Eight and getting knocked out by the number 1 seed, and being from Stony Brook, a mid-major, and putting us on the map and being part of a program that has created history in so many ways, I'm not disappointed at all in my choice of coming back because we didn't win a national championship. And like I said, it would be great, but I'd rather come back and make the memories that I did and lose in the first round than not come back at all.
We know how people can make an impact, and we all know that Stony Brook in women's lacrosse had looked really sharp ever since Joe Spallina became the new head coach starting in 2012. I'm sure it makes sense that you owe a lot to him to put you where you are right now. How meaningful has Joe Spallina been to you as far as your ability to grow as a player and a leader?
I owe him a lot, and I tell him that all the time. And the day after we lost to North Carolina, I texted him, and I was like, this sucks. Like, the fact that I'll never be suiting up again and being coached by you, Stony Brook wise, sucks. And it's upsetting, and it makes me emotional, even if I think about it right now, because he took, I joked around on my Instagram post, like, he took a chance on a short midfielder from North Babylon, a town that was not known for lacrosse or really sports at all, besides maybe football. And, a girl who does not fit the criteria of a typical women's lacrosse midfielder. I'm 5'3", short, stocky, muscular thing that doesn't have long legs that can run up and down the field like some other girls that in past years were admired for. So I definitely owe him a lot based like off his coaching, obviously, and adding to my skill set. But he also has shaped a leader within me that can, operate on the field, but also handle myself off the field. And it's something I'm truly going to be thankful for the rest of my life. And I've learned a lot of life lessons within these 4.5, 5 years that will get me pretty far. And I can, hang my hat on and rely back on when I find myself in situations. But he was a great coach, still a coach. And I'm so happy that I get to be coached by him on USA as well. And I don't have to lose that relationship with him because, I do love being coached by him, and he knows how to get the best out of all of his players. And he's proved that time and time again. And he's proved it with me and Taryn, and especially, Kylie and Courtney Murphy. So he knows what he's doing. And I'd say he's done it again. And I can't wait to see him do it in the future too.
Hey, Allie, hold on, Matt. Can I just, yeah. So I've got a similar question for you. Not exactly the same, but when you were a younger player, like freshman, sophomore, around there, was there an older teammate that you looked up to or who you followed the footsteps of? Like, any teammate that you maybe modeled your career after, a teammate that taught you how to be a D1 athlete?
I mean, I could give this answer to so many different girls, really. I mean, there was a girl in each class above me that I still look up to. It still has not ended, It was easy and to look up to Kylie because she was such a decorative player and a star. And, she never let any of the outside noise get to her. She was always so humble, a hard worker, and was so sweet to everyone on the team. She never acted better or bigger than anyone. And I was hoping when I was younger, a sophomore, whenever I was watching her play, that one day I'd make it to her level of success and that I'd handle myself the way she handled her, and just being humble, kind, and sweet to everyone, where everyone would walk away and be like, wow, Kylie O'Miller was a great teammate. And, then I have a girl like Dorian Van Dyke, who was a two-way midfielder that I think I'm pretty similar to her, just a few inches shorter than her. She was a really tall player. But
absolutely. Better scoring too on your end.
Yeah. She was a force to be reckoned with on the field, and I wanted to model my strength of play after her. And then you have Courtney Murphy, who was a great leader and knew how to get to people in the best way. And then, you have a girl who worked till she was told to stop in Sammy DeSalvo, who is just up and down the field nonstop. And then you have a girl like Mackenzie Burns, who was just a gritty, scrappy player that, again, just a hard worker. So I could keep going. I can go down a whole list of people, but those are definitely my top answers. And they're some of my closest friends. And I'm so happy that our relationship continued off the field, and that I can, call them when I need advice or if I just need to have fun and hang out with them.
That's awesome, honestly. Now, hold on. I just got one more. So now, in the opposite direction, this year as a graduate senior, or even last year, just in the shortened season, did you look at any of the underclassmen, the freshmen and the sophomores, and maybe think like, oh, that's the next me. That's the next Allie Kennedy. Like, can we expect another version or another similar player to you sometime in the near future?
Yeah, that's funny you said that, because I actually messaged this girl. I think it was yesterday. I was like, it's your time to take over. Like, I see myself in Claire Levy so much. She's a girl that was put in a big role at an early time, as a freshman, and expected to make plays, and was held at such a high level for a young girl, like a young player, and she killed it. She rocked it. She had a great freshman year. She had such a big play. against Jamie Ortega, who was a Tour-Ton finalist in the Elite 8 game, like caused an like all over the field, and she was never fazed by anything.
Absolutely. So you're saying that the torch has been
praise.
passed. Sorry, Ken.
No, we were saying the same thing. I was saying that's very high praise.
I want to run. Mike set me up perfectly for this question because we're talking about players past and present, and every great coach has a family tree. People who played for them, people who assisted under them, have gone on to head coaching jobs all over sports. Mike Krzyzewski, if you want to cite an example of a guy who's about to retire. Joe Spolina now has a pretty strong army of alumni now. Of those, including yourself, Allie, if you want, who do you think would make the best coaches?
Oh, that is a tough question. I don't know. I try to think about the girls that he coached that are really similar to him and understood him the best.
Could you break that down a bit too, kind of? Could you describe Coach Spolina? A lot of the listeners obviously do know, but for those maybe who aren't following Stony Brook as much, how do you describe him as a leader and especially his coaching style?
He's intense. He will get the best out of you. And that was a fight for me, at least. Like I came in and I was a girl who was used to a team revolving around her in high school. And then I came to a team that was filled with stars and wasn't really needed as much. So I was a little bit too headstrong on the fact that I didn't want to buy into his system of, defense first, work as hard as you can, and then the chips will fall into place kind of thing. So, the girls who worked the hardest kind of understood him the most, and the girls who were willing to do whatever it took to win were the ones that succeeded the most within this program. And I think it's shown time and time again, like there's so many girls in each class that have left a legacy that will forever be remembered by, Stony Brook University as a whole, I guess, not even just athletics. So I guess the girls that I would like a dream coaching staff, that's pretty crazy. I would love to see Kylie take it over, and then hopefully she'd hire me, but I would love to see her take the program over one day.
Man, I would love to see if that would ever happen, especially at Stony Brook in the future, if that would ever happen. But yeah, and that Kylie really has been there a lot, especially when we saw her make multiple appearances this season at Stony Brook games, especially when she did help broadcast the NCAA tournament at LaValle Stadium along with Johnny Wincott, our friend as well.
And be an assistant coach last year for Stony Brook.
Yeah, you had that student advisory role to take on. How's that allowed you to still help the women's lacrosse team in some capacity?
Kylie has done so much for this program, and the fact that she's still around, like, I know she came to games because Taryn was on the team, but I think she came to games also because she's a really proud alum, and she is probably one of the best to be able to reflect because she, really was here, like, on the team when it was, like, on its up and up to the national rankings. She was on the team for some of the most key wins to get them in the top 10 rankings, to put them on the map. So I thank her for what she's done for this program. And I think she knows that I've told her a bunch of times. But like she helped, she did a big part in bringing the program up to where it is. So when she had the opportunity to be around the team, I would think that she would jump on that opportunity because she is allowed to see the program keep flourishing and growing, that she had such a big hand in helping get to where it is now.
Absolutely. And a lot of accomplishments obviously during her tenure, Courtney Murphy, as you said, yours as well. And I mean, going back to the point where we're looking towards the future, you brought up a great name in Claire Levy earlier. Played in all 19 games as a freshman, had 24 ground balls, 25 calls turnovers. I remember that Rutgers game especially. She was locking down the shooting and really doing a good job kickstarting your possessions that ultimately ended up in a lot of scores for the Seawolves. But who are you really excited for? Again, you said Claire Levy, but Jaden Hampel, Ellie Macera, those are three people that we here at Sports Section really discuss as like, if they're going to be the next version of that Sydney Gagnon, Taryn O'Miller, Allie Kennedy sort of duo or trio that are really going to control the conference pretty much. So who are you really excited to see take that next step over the next couple of seasons?
I'm excited to see all three of those girls that you mentioned. It's going to be funny to go to games in the next coming years and be like, wow, I remember when you were a freshman and now you're a junior, just absolutely killing it, because I bet girls that are alums now when I was a freshman are just can't believe like what I've done, because I wouldn't call myself a hot mess my freshman year, but I've definitely grown as a player. So I'm excited to see these players grow. Also, if you think about the sophomores that had their freshman year cut early because of COVID, so they're technically redshirt freshmen, they've got a long way to go. And talking about girls like Kaylin Hart, Charlotte Verhulst, like there's big name girls on this team that have multiple years together, and I'm seeing nothing but great things for this team in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, too, it's just incredible seeing, especially on the offense, how every year, especially under Coach Spallino, it is the best first in the conference and ultimately one of the best in the nation. Could you kind of break that down for us, being someone who was in that system, that motion offense called the 5-2, it could also be 4-3-1 sometimes. Did you guys just describe kind of to those, especially those young girls that are preparing to enter, collegiate lacrosse, how that offense was one of the best in the nation?
It's just having everyone understand their role. So you look at Taryn, she's a great feeder, but when we needed her to, she could dodge. Me, my first thing is dodging. That's what I love to do. That's what I'm good at. I know.
You do well.
I know my off-ball cutting skills aren't the best on the team. I'd have to give that to, Siobhan Rafferty and Kaylee Huff. Like, it's just putting the right pieces out there together that share different roles, but do it as a unit. So most of the time, like, we don't have set plays on offense. We play as a unit by using our individual skill and, role and mindset to score goals, pretty much. We have different girls out there for, different reasons. Like Jaden was a big add-on because she could dodge. So when teams were sliding early to me and scouting me, then I was able to kick the ball out to someone else, as in Jaden, and she could take it and win her matchup. They didn't really know who she was. She's a freshman, so they have not their top defender on her. So she was always winning her matchup there. Then we have Kaylin Hart, who is a great lefty dodger. And then sometimes you'd see against different defenses, number 13, Rebecca Kinsley, come in as a lefty feeder. It's all about having the right pieces in for the right defense for success. But that doesn't just happen overnight. That's something that is worked religiously every single day at practice through repetition, intense drills, and hard work, and trust. That was something that was hard to build during this year because of COVID. You could do team activities on the field, but a lot of stuff is built off the field and getting to know each other. And that social aspect of this year was really taken away. So that was tough. And we didn't have a normal fall ball year of like getting to test ourselves against a different defense except for ours.
Yes. And you talk about those girls and you talk about like all about being able to make sure that your team gets more goals than the opponent. And that's not just defense, but it also comes through the goaltending. And we saw Cameron Hustle.
Yeah, Halsall and Haley Hunter really perform exceptionally. So on top of all of that too, how was it like first building that chemistry and then being able to see them perform under pressure in a lot of tight games like that Towson game where Jaden Hamper went off for a hat trick?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome because if you think about the freshman class, like before they got to Stony Brook, they didn't play lacrosse since their junior year because their senior year was taken away. And then the first time they were playing against someone else was against UNC. Like, that is just crazy. If that was me my freshman year, I'd be, that's intense. That's a big step. And it, in a way, kind of accelerated them forward at a faster pace because they just had to get in, get used to it, and like really just like rip the Band-Aid off. Like, welcome to college lacrosse. You're playing the number 1 seed after 2 years or like a year and a half of not playing lacrosse.
Oh, absolutely. And again, there were, yeah, go ahead, Matt.
A lot's been made about Coach Spallina's ability to find talent that gets overlooked. What characteristics do you and your teammates have that got his attention that other coaches may have ignored, but he was able to build a great team out of, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it takes a really special coach to have an eye for this kind of stuff. I picked his brain about it one time, and he's like, I look for the kids that, carry their bag off the field and not give it to their parents. I looked for the kids that, were good teammates when they were having bad games. I looked at the kids who celebrated harder when their teammates scored than they did. So it's more of like finding that right personality in the people, because that's what makes a team. Like, yes, someone could be a great player, but also their personality affects the team chemistry and culture. And that's something that Joe Spallina has built. Like, the foundation of Stony Brook lacrosse is like the culture of our team is unlike anywhere else. And that is through recruiting. That is through finding the people who, fit those right pieces. And we all mesh well together. Like, I get along with all the girls on my team. And I know I've talked to other girls on different teams, and that's not the case for all teams. So it's a really rare thing that goes on inside Stony Brook women's lacrosse. It is so special. And it is straight from recruiting the people who he does.
No, absolutely. And again, now kind of for you, as you said, it's shocking because, that front, it's over as a player there under Spallina at Stony Brook, but it still continues at least for the next few months and hopefully next year. So you had a really incredible week starting off first, trying out for the U.S. national lacrosse team. How did that did that get set up for you? And then what were you looking forward to the most for the upcoming week?
Yeah. So when Spallina was named to the coaching staff, I think there was one tryout that they just invited a lot of girls to. And then after that, he was able to bring me along, and I'm so thankful. And I've been a part of the training camps and team ever since. And it's a crazy experience. Like, I've been doing this since 2018 now. And it's something I never get used to. Sometimes I look down at the penny that I'm wearing and it says USA on it. I'm like, that is insane. It's insane that I'm wearing that across my chest, but also I'm playing against girls that I knew growing up. I have watched and scouted on, on TV and on like through college lacrosse, and girls that I've played against who, maybe we went head to head during the game, but now I'm playing alongside of them and they're great people. Like, it's really crazy to think about in that aspect because it's such a humbling experience being, a part of this team and just being a part of something like bigger than yourself, of having the chance to represent your country is really cool. And I will never get used to wearing that uniform and like hearing the anthem. Like, it kind of makes me emotional every time.
In your words, how do you match up compared to the rest of the field for the U.S. World Lacrosse Tryout Team?
It's hard to say because I'm myself's biggest critic. I can do a million great things, but I'll just focus on the one thing that I don't do so great. But it's cool because so many of us bring such different skill sets to the team. So it's difficult. It's difficult to say where I stand. I'm obviously not going to say I'm the best midfielder, but I don't think I'm the worst. I just am a different player than some of the girls there. There's a lot of tall midfielders there who run like gazelles and have the longest stride length, and I'm out there running like a running back on a football field. So I think I just bring a different style of lacrosse, the Long Island lacrosse that I think the U.S. team is missing.
I was going to say, I would argue that wouldn't that be your greatest strength? And if I had to make a case for you, I think that'd be the reason, because again, you spoke about earlier, you really are unlike a lot of that field, especially in the midfield, as you said, your size, your speed, athleticism, it's so unique from the rest, really the rest of the nation. One of the reasons why you earned IWLCA Midfielder of the Year honors, both in the preseason and afterwards, is because despite, all of that, being one of the shorter players, you still quite literally blew away a lot of the competition in terms of speed and racked up a bunch of goals, points, draw control wins as well, and proved that you could fight and really, battle with the best of them, including other Tewaaraton Award finalists.
Yeah, I might be the shortest midi ever to win the IWLC Midfielder of the Year, but I'll take that statistic. I was overlooked because I was overlooked by a lot of colleges because of my height. So it's just like the cherry on top that I was able to, be recognized as the best midfielder this year. So it was really cool.
No, absolutely. It is, again, a really inspirational story. And to even going back before that, you said, in high school at the time, North Babylon wasn't necessarily the best in the island when it comes to sports. But, I know, especially going through your history, you were raised, at least I know your father played sports, had two older siblings, including Corey, who played lacrosse as well at Stony Brook. So what was that like in the household growing up? How prevalent were sports in your life?
Oh my God, I grew up. It's crazy. My family dynamic is something that, I wouldn't trade for the world. I grew up at Stony Brook. Like, me and my sister are 9 years apart. So when she was in college, I was like 9 or 10, and running around the stadium, just under the scoreboard, like doing crazy things because no one would go to the games, and it would literally just be me and my friend running around doing whatever we wanted. I grew up thinking that everyone, I grew up thinking that everyone went to the field at 6 a.m. with their siblings and their dad to work out. Like, it was just normal to me. That stuff, like, type of stuff was normal to me. So, like, working out, training, and playing sports is like pretty much all I knew for a while. And like, I'd go in the front yard, and my dad would have, my sister play me one-on-one because she was a low defender and I had dodge past her, but she had such, an age advantage on me that I'd get so frustrated. So it was really fun growing up in my household. I mean, sometimes there were competitive events between the siblings that, got a little out of hand, but that's expected. But I love my siblings, and, they're my biggest supporters now. So I'm really thankful for them.
In a sense, too, I think it kind of contributed to that accelerated growth when it came time to playing organized lacrosse, especially in high school. I mean, as you said, even though you were often outside, you weren't outmatched. You outmatched your opponents. It was kind of like you knew they're going to be bigger, but I'm the better of the two. I mean, from your freshman to senior year in high school, you had 273 goals scored. That's ninth in the entire state of New York.
Wow.
I mean, I was gonna say, how did you feel kind of about that in high school, where, what was your expectation from freshman year, and what did you see in yourself as you can progress throughout it?
For high school?
Yeah, in high school.
Well, high school was like a way different animal. You know, we were not the greatest. We went 3-13 one year, and then we had a coaching staff change, and then the next year we made playoffs for the first time. And I was surrounded by girls who lacrosse wasn't their main sport, and it's kind of crazy on Long Island to hear that girls in my high school team didn't play travel lacrosse, but that is like unheard of now. Everyone's on a travel team. Like everyone is belonging to a different travel club at this, day and age. But when I was in high school, I was the only Yellow Jacket player on my team, and Yellow Jackets is a crazy big travel club, lacrosse club. So it took a lot, but I was playing with my closest friends, like 3 or 4 of my closest friends, that we had such good chemistry that, it really didn't matter who we were going up against or really, like, we were just playing for each other. And we've been a part of North Babylon lacrosse since we were so young, so it meant a lot to us.
No, again, it was incredible too. And again, as you said, it's to be, especially there, it's insane to think about, that there's only one player playing club lacrosse, in high school, especially because I just know so many of our listeners, especially the future of women's lacrosse, are, they're all a part of a few travel clubs throughout the year. And the Yellow Jackets as well is, they one of the best, not only in New York, but in the nation. I believe they are ranked best in New York, and I think second nationally this year. But I mean, it's just absolutely remarkable to see how you've seen that growth in lacrosse. We're not only in North Babylon, but also throughout the island during your playing time.
Yeah, women's lacrosse has gotten a lot of traction. I'd even say this year, this is the most like social media coverage I've seen on women's lacrosse since I've played the sport. But, growing up, it was on Long Island, it was the Yellow Jackets. And then there was another club that opened up called Top Guns. And then we were rivals because we were just used to being the only team. And now there's probably 15 different, maybe more, because town teams are now making their own travel teams, that it's fit. Like if you don't make one, there's a dozen other you can choose from to go play for. So they call it like the fastest growing sport. Like that's what people refer to as lacrosse. And it really is, because it is just taking over. And I'm just so happy, because sometimes I would go somewhere and people would, see my goggle tan and they'd be like, "Oh, you just come back from skiing?" And I'm like, "No, like I play lacrosse." And they're like, "What's lacrosse?" So like, I haven't got a lot of those questions, like what's lacrosse. I'm hoping people, are starting to figure out what it is. And it's awesome to see that it's growing enough liking and traction to have a pro league and have something to do after college for it and pursue your dreams.
Yeah, and that's what you're going to be doing, of course. The other big news for you this week, being the second overall draft pick in the Athletes Unlimited draft. How did that come about, and how honored are you to be that second overall draft pick in the first ever, mind you, Athletes Unlimited, formerly Women's Pro Lacrosse League draft?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I think being the number 2 pick helps me out, because I like to chase things. I like to prove people wrong and, show like, hey, should have picked me number 1 or something like that, because it keeps me hungry and, striving for success. But it also is crazy to know that I was chosen to go pro and fulfill a childhood dream of mine, that even when I was a child dreaming of it, it wasn't a thing, but I was just crossing my fingers and hoping that someday it would. And here it is. And I am so happy. And like I said, I'm just going to be honored to be playing with and against the best of the best.
Absolutely. There are 56 players overall, and this is going to be starting July 23rd, running to the end of August. And there's a lot of U.S. national team members. Kayla Traynor, Michelle Tumolo, Kaylee Waters, Kylie O'Miller, of course, for that Stony Brook connection there. And it's 5 weeks of intense gameplay. And how interested are you kind of in the rules of this? Because this is really unlike, for sure, I've ever seen. You have 8-minute quarters, 9v9 gameplay, so you have a lot more bodies on the field, and a 60-second shot clock on a 80-yard by 50-yard playing field.
Yeah, I actually had no clue that the rules were going to be like that. I thought it was just going to be like the college game, honestly. But I'm excited. It sounds like a faster pace kind of play, and I think that fits into my skill set. So we'll see. Any chance I get to play any form of lacrosse, I'm going to, really be thankful for. And the fact that I get to suit up, may not be in a Stony Brook uniform, but I still have the chance to play the sport that I love. And the rules could be absurd, and I'd probably still play.
Well, speaking of which, indoor lacrosse on the men's side, talking about absurd rules. Basically hockey without the ice. Much tighter. It's harder to switch hands. You're the dedicated lefty or righty. In the smaller space, what are the major differences, especially when it comes to contact? When you have a much smaller space, people are going to be banging into each other more. How does that work?
You're talking about box lacrosse?
No, I'm talking about the women's lacrosse in the smaller field that you're playing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different in the fact that, you can't really play in the same style you would, obviously, in a longer field, and it creates a faster pace of play, so you have to make decisions way quicker. And I think they said that the shot clock is 60 seconds instead of 90, so that makes, again, you have to be a smart player with really high IQ, in the lacrosse sense, to operate at that speed on a shorter field. And just the speed transition from going from college to now US, it is a crazy difference. This difference. This difference. This difference. This difference. This difference. This difference. Smart decisions in a tighter space will benefit you the most, in my opinion.
Now, are the contact rules different at all? Fouls and things like that?
I'm not really sure.
Doesn't look like it, no.
Yeah, I didn't take a look at the rule book yet.
That makes it even harder.
Yeah.
Well, who knows what it'll be like?
Well, for sure,
Definitely
it's going to
worth
be
watching
fun.
regardless.
Absolutely.
Speaking of
I would
which,
definitely can't wait for it. That's
something we do need to do. Unless you have the information already, Allie, can these games be viewed on the stream?
Yeah, I think they're streaming it, and I also think it's going to be on TV. Athletes Unlimited is already a big, I don't think company, but name, and they have a volleyball and softball league as well. And the volleyball league is always on MSG, so I'm assuming we're going to be on TV to some aspect, and you're definitely going to be able to stream it as well.
Okay, something to look forward to over the summer once all the other sports are done and the Yankees continue to struggle, but that's for another story for the second hour. It is WUSB Stony Brook. It's a little bit past 11. And Allie Kennedy, lacrosse legend at Stony Brook University. Now that you are an alum. Thank you for all the time you gave us and all the insights that you gave us, too, as well. It was really a pleasure to speak with you.